Jurassic World stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Jake Johnson, and the story basically revolves around every other Jurassic Park movie. There are dinosaurs, there's a bad idea, the dinosaurs escape, and the dinosaurs eat people, and that's really about it. Now this movie kind of discounts the second and the third movie and is almost a direct sequel to the first movie. Now this movie takes place 20 years after Jurassic Park and kind of shows what John Hammond's vision for Jurassic Park would have been if things had actually worked. We find out that Jurassic World had come to pass and is basically the vision of what Dr. Hammond wanted. It was a kind of a SeaWorld amusement park, theme park type place. And after 20 years of this, people are getting really, really bored. They see petting zoos, you can play golf, there's a Starbucks there, and it's becoming so mundane that people are wanting bigger and better things, which leads the scientists to have a bad idea. And they want to genetically engineer a dinosaur that's bigger, faster, stronger, more aggressive, basically a super dinosaur, and they want it to unveil it to the world. Bryce Dallas Howard plays Claire in this movie. Now she's kind of the main lady who runs the place. She kind of keeps the book, she kind of oversees the science aspects in some ways, but she quickly realizes that she's a little bit over her head with this and wants to call in Owen. Now Owen is a wildlife, ex-Navy, kind of all-around badass in a lot of ways actually. They call him in to get some expert advice on how to handle this dinosaur and how to proceed in the best way possible in unveiling him, or I guess her, to the whole park to hopefully get attendance up and ticket sales up and merchandising up and kind of a cash grab for them. Now one thing that I was a little concerned about before I saw this movie was the fact that Chris Pratt was playing kind of a dinosaur charmer. You saw in the previews that he was playing with these raptors and training them to kind of fight alongside him. And in my opinion, before I saw this movie, it almost undid everything that the first three Jurassic Park movies did, which was establishing these animals as something who are highly intelligent, very uncontrollable, very vicious animals, and it almost seemed like he was training dolphins or seals or something. He was kind of, you know, being a little too cutesy with them. Now in this movie, it totally sold me on that. They handled it in such a clever and honest way that when I sat back and I watched it, I kind of found myself thinking, now if Jurassic Park really existed or Jurassic World really existed, there would probably be a guy like this. I mean, there would probably be a guy who is wanting to push the boundaries of what they can actually do with these dinosaurs and seeing how they would react to certain things and if they could even be trained. Now, without giving too much of the story away, this is where Vincent D'Onofrio's character comes in as kind of a corporate bad guy who sees the application of the dinosaurs and has his own agendas for using them. He thinks they can be taken out of the theme park and used for his personal benefit. And without giving too much away, I found the idea very, very intriguing, but it seemed like they didn't handle it very well at all. They could have made him such a great character and someone who was kind of pushing the boundaries with these thought-provoking ideas like they did in the first movie in terms of science, playing God, creating new life, and they kind of turned him into a little bit of a stock kind of villain to this movie, and I wish they would have handled him a little better. Vincent D'Onofrio is a fantastic actor. He has such great acting abilities, and it seemed like they kind of used his character as more of just a stock person to be there to kind of move the plot along a little bit. One of the more surprising characters for me in this movie was Jake Johnson's character, Lowry, and he's the kind of control room, wisecracking character who provided a ton of comedic relief for this movie. They didn't really rely so much on Chris Pratt to be making the jokes. It quickly went back and forth between Jake Johnson and Bryce Dallas Howard, and kind of them bouncing back and forth. He's more of the kind of slacker goofball, and she's just kind of a by-the-books character. Everything has to be moving along precisely as she plans, and that made for a really interesting dynamic in the scenes that they shared together. Now, there are a few characters in this movie that I did not enjoy, which were the two children in this movie, and I honestly can't think of their names. One of them is played by Ty Simpkins, who is my least favorite of the two. It's sad to say that his best acting performance was when he was in a coma in Insidious. This kid annoyed me to no end in this movie. You know, I understand that every Jurassic Park up until now has had children involved, and they kind of make it a priority to include these children on the adventures that they go on. But here's the reason why I cared about the kids in the first movie so much, is because they were good kids who actually listened, and they wanted to learn, and they wanted to be a part of this adventure, and they got sucked into it and kind of held their own. In this movie, these two kids are basically the damsels in distress of the whole movie. They were very annoying, they were very combative, they were any chance that they had to disobey their parents or whoever is in charge of them, they took. And that quickly made me care a little less about them and really what happened to them in the movie. It seemed like the movie was progressing very, very well, and I wish they just would have stuck with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt chasing this monster, this Indominus Rex, test tube dinosaur. When those two were on screen, it was fantastic. Things were just progressing along so well. But when they cut to these two kids, it's like they pump the brakes on the whole story, and they kind of have to baby you through this whole setup that, in my opinion, just slowed things way down. Now, their resolution to that, in my opinion, was any time that would happen, they'd throw a little reference or a location or a character from the first movie to kind of try to reel you back in a little bit. Like, hey, you remember this, don't you? You remember that. Hey, doesn't that look familiar? They took a lot of very iconic scenes and locations, in my opinion, to kind of make up for these kids, and that was very, very disappointing to me. Now, in the days leading up to this release, I had been watching the Jurassic Park trilogy on Blu-ray, Jurassic Park, The Lost World Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park 3, and to be honest with you, that may have been a little bit of a mistake on my part. If you're going into this movie, do not expect another Jurassic Park. You will simply leave disappointed. This is a very fun-oriented movie. Now, I had a blast during this movie. I saw this movie with 4 very, very good friends of mine, and everyone had a blast during this movie. But don't expect a thought-provoking film like the first one, because you simply are not going to get it. You're going to see a lot of very, very interesting locations, kind of rehashing some old locations, and in my opinion, milking them a little dry personally. You're going to see a lot of stock characters who, although they were very fun to watch over the course of the movie, it just seemed like they were a little retired. They just went to some stock library of characters and picked out a few that fit the story and thought like, we'll get a popular actor here and, they'll make it work. Now, Chris Pratt was fantastic in this movie, don't get me wrong, I'll get to that later, but do not expect a Jurassic Park level movie, because that's just simply what you're not going to get. You're going to get a fun, action-packed summer blockbuster, and that's what it was. And when I was watching these movies, I kind of had it in my mind, more specifically Jurassic Park and some of The Lost World. I wasn't expecting much out of Jurassic Park 3, but that's another story. Now, as I said before, Chris Pratt's character Owen was absolutely fantastic. There are a lot of scenes in this movie where he's playing kind of a more reserved guy, and you don't really find out much about him. You found out that he was in the Navy, and he has a real intense passion for these animals. But other than that, that's really all you find out about him. He's kind of a loner. He's a little more withheld and restrained, but you can tell he has a real care and passion for these animals. Now, setting that aside, viewing him as Chris Pratt, excellent job. This showed me that Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't just a one-hit wonder. He can be, in my opinion, one of the bigger action stars of this era. There are talks of him being in the new Indiana Jones reboot, and after seeing this, honestly, I would be comfortable seeing him donning the fedora and the whip. It just seems like a logical choice. It seems like he is so charismatic and comedically talented. He knows how to carry a scene, and he showed me, in my opinion, that he can be a real action star. Overall, is the movie good? Yes. Is it great? No. I think if you go into this movie expecting greatness, you're going to be a little disappointed. If you want a fun movie to go to during the summer, on a nice day, you want to enjoy a movie with your family, if you want to kick your feet up and kind of relax a little more, this is a perfect movie for it. I won't say turn your brain off, because that's a little insulting, I think, but it's a movie that is fun. If you expect fun, you will have a great time. If you expect a thought-provoking, just totally life-changing movie, I'm sorry to say it, but you're not going to get it. Overall, I would give the movie a 4 out of 5. Anyways, guys, if you'd like to see me do a spoiler review where I go into a little bit more detail in terms of characters and plot points, please let me know, because I would be absolutely willing to explore this movie a little bit more. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you like this video, let me know down below. Give me a thumbs up, maybe a subscription, I don't know, but thank you guys for watching.